Back in 2004, I was working at a startup in New York when I approached my supervisor to tell her I was leaving because I found a new position. "Where?" she asked. "Pokemon," I told her with glee. "Oh, is that still a thing?" "Probably not what you want to hear upon starting a new job, but yes," I told her, Pokemon was still very much a thing. And now, 17 years later, with my Pokemon days well behind me, I can tell you that Pokemon is even stronger than ever, with two of the highest selling Switch games, a top mobile game that became a genuine phenomenon, and trading cards that are selling for thousands of dollars on eBay. This weekend marks 25 years since the original Pokemon games came out on the Nintendo Game Boy in Japan, so it's pretty safe to say that Pokemon is far more than a fad. But why? It's probably worth looking at when Pokemon emerged on the scene here in the US back in 1998.
Where can you catch all 150 Pokemon? On your Game Boy, that's where.
The Game Boy had been around for a decade and hadn't really had a big title on par with Tetris and Super Mario Land in a while. And then here comes a new game that not only uses, but depends on the link cable. Until then, we pretty much threw the cord back in the case after the novelty wore off. It was a social game before that became an industry buzzword in the age of mobile and Facebook gaming. At that point, most kids had a Game Boy already, meaning there was an audience desperate for new handheld content. New RPG content at that. Just a year earlier, Final Fantasy VII had landed stateside for the original PlayStation, bringing JRPGs into the mainstream. So Western players were eager to explore more of the genre. This was also during the rise of Magic the Gathering, the very first collectible card game. It utterly blew up across comic shops, gaming conventions, and schools. An entire floor of my high school was packed with Magic players every day. But to an outsider, it could be rather impenetrable. So in came the Pokemon trading card game, which took the video games' general concepts and created a simpler, more streamlined collectible card game around them that kids could easily grasp. It certainly helped that for its first few years in the States, the Pokemon TCG was also published by Wizards of the Coast, the creators of Magic the Gathering, which gave Pokemon some cachet with players and the distribution network to be everywhere. One of the strengths of the Pokemon games, both video and card, were their simpler mechanics and kid-friendly story, which made it easier to onboard new players. And that's still mostly true, even as more and more features get packed into each new generation of the core games. A newbie can still make it through a game like Pokemon Sword and Shield without catching too many Pokemon or learning even a tenth of the moves. I often refer to the series as baby's first RPG, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I cut my teeth as a preteen on titles like Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger and got my ass thoroughly kicked in those games a lot. Had Pokemon been around just a few years earlier, I might have started out on Red and Blue and had a much less stressful time learning how to play a JRPG. But all of this only taps into its initial popularity and not why it continues to endure. Sure, Pokemon is good at picking up new players, but on the other side of things, it doesn't shed fans very often. That's because beyond the basic rock, paper, scissors combat, there's a lot of number crunching and strategy for more advanced players to partake in. Over the last 2 decades, players have cracked the game's mechanics wide open, understanding how to manipulate the very math that makes up their Pokemon's stats and breed creatures with more desirable traits. And even if you're not a number cruncher, I'm certainly not, there's always something new on the horizon because the franchise is in a constant state of renewal. We started with 150 Pokemon, but now we're looking at a list that numbers nearly 1,000 unique creatures. With so many, you're bound to find one that fits your battle plan or personal aesthetic. There's a Pokemon for every type of person. And their release is carefully coordinated, with some of the major titles re-released every few years to introduce players to older Pokemon they might have missed, as well as making it easier for hardcore gamers to complete their Pokédex. So yes, Pokemon is still very much a thing. It's a constantly shifting goalpost. There will always be new Pokemon to catch, new regions to explore, and new features to try out. You're never going to be really done with Pokemon. It will continue to pick up new fans, retain the old ones, and find ways to pull lapsed players back in. If you were a kid when Pokemon came out, you'd likely be in your 30s now, and your own children may already be playing. Thus, the cycle begins anew, laying the grounds for the next 25 years of monster battles.